This is the President McCormack Podcast with your host, Mark McCormack.
Today on the podcast, the one and only Cody Broderick. Thank you, my friend. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here with you. Thanks for having me.
Chatting a lot of Watt right now. And we have the Day group. So, which is kind of how we know each other.
We're very passionate about Watt, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So I guess it's the first time we met in Iceland.
I think so.
Probably, right?
In Iceland.
Yeah. So tell me, why did you join the group? Or how'd you even hear about it?
So I heard about it from Jimmy about a year before he launched it. And he was just talking to me about vision and kind of what he was doing. I was bowling with him and Luke Wren, actually. And he kind of told me what he had in mind, and then mixing adventure in and how the vision kind of evolved. And I was like, wow, I mean, bro, that's amazing. That's amazing. Sign me up, like count me in. Yeah. So that's how I heard about it. And then, I knew immediately when he started releasing it, it's like, there's my application.
Yeah.
So.
Did you recruit anybody in your group, or did you just come along?
I've told a few people about it. No one that's actually signed up. So just me.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got brought in with, so Nick Howland was one that kind of really got me in. And then Max as well, Max Jolly.
Yeah.
But Jake Waldron was kind of the one that got Max in, and then Nick was trying to get me in. I actually said no at the beginning because I was like, the men's group thing, right? Like traditionally it's just like, I don't need to be motivated. Like,
yeah. I explored EO and YPO.
I don't know what that is.
So EO is entrepreneur organization. It's
okay.
National. Actually, it's worldwide. And they do financial checks and everything. And it's like AA, but for entrepreneurs, groups of 8 to 12 max. And then every month you meet and you share 5% lows, 5% highs. So these are the top 5% things that are just awesome. These are the bottom 5. And then it's like this mini advisory board, and it's tight. I went through that process of application and looking at it. I interviewed with groups and it just didn't hit. Yeah. And then I went through YPO. It's Young Professionals Organization. Same thing. It's just a little bit bigger. You have to have 10 million minimum in revenue to look at that. And then Global Network, meeting, events, travel with groups. It just didn't resonate. And I couldn't find my tribe, actually. And so when Jimmy talked about this model, I was like, let's go. And I'm in. This is perfect.
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah. I've seen, I just feel like a lot of those groups, are they all networking groups pretty much?
They're networking. There's definitely, intention behind when you meet and you have, monthly meetups and quarterly meetups and one yearly trip together. Yeah. And you're really, supporting one another personally. It's highly confidential. So I think that element of like vulnerability and integrity and, transparency is strong in those groups. Yeah. So when Jimmy talked about that being foundational and how he opens up the hearts and minds of everybody, it just resonated. I was like, I need to do this. Yeah. This is great. This is a huge blessing to get this man to, to coach us and lead us, but then help people heal, help them evolve, help them grow, but help them have tons of fun, you know? It's like being a 10-year-old hanging out with everybody.
It is. It actually is. It's like we get to go back and play with our buddies.
We just play. Yeah. We just play so hard, but then we just really cut out all the crap and we go deep, we go internal, and we think, and then we have meaningful conversations, and we cry and we hug and we fight and we scream, and it's awesome. It's like everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And you, how do you think that translates to your business life? I've talked a lot about the Walk Group on my podcast, right? And we talk about the personal relationship with ourself that we really get changing, right? And grow. Yeah. Because you're a high level in the business world. How has that really affected the business world for you?
I think all in a really positive way. In a very positive way. I see life and the journey that we are on as an opportunity to constantly improve, Kaizen, and learn more about yourself. And so, you know, we don't ever arrive. We don't get to 45 and 50 and we hit a summit. We're like, hey, you know, I know everything. So I think it has helped me open up new perspectives and ways of thinking about myself and new experiences and challenges that we've done, and learning from guys and supporting people that have gone through really hard things and challenges. And that could be addictions or vices. It could be breakups. It could be physical challenges. So I think that it's really helped me in every way. Me better in business, better in listening, holding space, better husband. I see guys everywhere just leveling up. And so as long as everyone in our group wants to raise the bar, which everybody does, like you don't sign up for what if you're passive. You're just not going to fit in. If you care and you want to look inward and you want to raise the bar, that's what you see happening. And then you could kind of trace back so many benefits to, like, hey, because of this guy, I did this for my wife, or because of these guys that started this, you know, this is better. Or I never would have met that investor for this. I wouldn't even have known about this if that connection wasn't made. So it's just like it's just blossomed, I think, for all of us in family and faith and finance and spirituality, fitness, which of course, you know, for business, it's just been great as well.
Yeah. Have your employees, I know you just had an exit, but you know, have your employees, how'd they react to it? Did you talk to them a lot about it, or did you kind of keep it private? Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, personal development has always been core to every company I've been in or been part of. And so we have everyone do vision boards at the beginning of the year. We create accountability, shared accountability. And then in our Slack channels, there's different groups, and they're sharing wins and stuff like that. So I would share with them in full transparency what I was doing, what I would be experiencing, what I learned from it. And then I would share, you know, if this information's helpful for you at all. So I shared everything with them. I love that transparency element of, if this benefits you, or if I can help you, if this resonates with you, let me know. And, you know, sending that out to hundreds of employees, but sometimes there's 4 or 5 or 6 that just DM you and they're like, hey, you know, that really meant a lot, or can I get, you know, 15 minutes on your calendar to talk about this? And then they open up. So that's really powerful to, you know, at the end of the day, I think if we can show up and serve others, that's, I mean, the most beautiful thing we can do. And then again, just tracing that back to the benefit of growth and development and learning and what.
Yeah. Cause you shared your goal development plan with everybody, right?
I did. Yeah.
How'd you come up with that?
So it's kind of like a combination of lots of things between school and grad school. And I went through this kind of leadership development with Randy Garn locally, and he was running a group called the Hero Partners, and up in Wyoming with they call it the Bronze Buffalo Club. I don't know if you've heard of it up there.
I just barely heard about that last week, and I'd never heard of it before. Yeah.
So they had this methodology called StratLink. It stands for Strategic Link. Yeah. And it's basically Gantt chart management, where you have different categories. You have, you know, like a mantra, 5 key objectives, and then you have specific objectives with measurable outcomes, not activity, like outcomes. And then you move it into kind of 90-day rolling priorities. So you just cut the noise and focus on outcomes for 90 days. Like, because entrepreneurs, and you know this, you've been in it. Everyone's just going, they move little progress here, and then they don't make progress. It's like if you focus on 3 and you're like, so, I learned a lot about that. And then I learned how to just embed it in my family. So we run our family like we run a really mature professional business. So we have family meetings and they're scheduled. I set an agenda. We talk about it. We track all of our family, all of our boys create their own goals for the year. I create goals. My wife does. And then we have dialogue around it. and talk about progress and how we're doing. And we measure all of it together. So, like my one boy, 4.0 GPA, read 10 books for reward. So they get $50 a book. So if they read like Man's Search for Meaning or, Think and Grow Rich, $50 a book. Yeah. Run a half marathon, finish my big life journal, do 100 push-ups and 100 sit-ups every day. And he kills it. My son's a slayer. Mm-hmm. And so my wife and I just go through this right here and we track everything.
Yeah.
And then we also, I think one of the most things that's really powerful is measurement. So we have a lot of categories, fun, family, fitness, relationship, finance, philanthropy, health and wellness, sex and intimacy. We measure on a scale of 1 to 10 in a lot of categories how we're doing. And then we just create this super safe, open communication loop. So in business world, it'd be like 360s, but in life. So if we're under a 6 on anything, then we just talk about it. Yeah. So any category, and sex and intimacy is my favorite category because everyone's afraid to talk about it. Or it's taboo, or they struggle there, and men are watching pornography and they don't know how to connect to their women and how to do that. So we measure everything, and in the business world, you can't manage what you don't measure.
Yeah.
And that's in life too. So I want to know how I'm operating and try to measure as much as I can in my life with my family.
So when you guys are doing that in your family, mm-hmm. Is it overwhelming? Does it get overwhelming? Do you have to deal with that ever?
No, it doesn't.
Is that because you implemented it early enough in the family, you think?
Yeah. And I don't make it like a big deal. I make it fun. I make it like we watch TED Talks as a family, and because your kids, like I could coach them and sometimes it just goes in one ear out the other. It's like, no, watch this expert for 12 minutes.
Yeah.
And then it'll blow your mind. And then, oh, by the way, son, you're picking next week's TED Talk. So go find something cool. Cool. So like empowering them and making it fun and teaching them to love themselves, but to be accountable. Like if you want to do 100 push-ups and sit-ups every day, how are you doing? How are you doing? I did 26 out of 30 days. Great. How do you feel about that? My oldest son is so hard on himself. If he gets a 98, he will retake a test. I'm serious.
Yeah.
So I have to teach him that, I love your standards. I love your discipline, but love yourself. Okay. Like imagine talking to your best friend and your best friend's struggling, or your best friend did something, how would you talk to them? How would you lift them up? Like treat yourself like that, like love yourself, bud. So it's not overwhelming. I think the structure and the discipline is really valuable for them. Yeah. Because later in life, I want them to be able to help organize and, teach their families as well. And
how long have you guys been doing it?
Years. I mean,
from the beginning?
Yeah, from the beginning. Cause I learned it like 10 years ago. Yeah. So yeah. And it's gotten better and better and easier, so we have monthly meetings. And then it's ongoing. Like my wife and I talk about it all the time, 2 times a month. How are things going? And they're hyper intentional, like for my relationship, I'll say, read my vows often, 2 date nights a month, specific Bible study on relationship strengthening, bi-monthly meetings, over communicate around 2023 changes. So 2023 for us, we had a baby girl. I sold the business. I'm launching another business. It's wild. It's like living la vida loca right now. But that feedback loop is so powerful. And if you teach the kids early, they'll just model behavior. Yeah. Like they won't know anything different. So it's critical that we embed that in youth at a really young age. Because I had bad habits when I was young. High school curriculum sucks. I love my parents to death, but there's a lot of gaps there with emotional intelligence and coaching, and they didn't go down the path of higher ed and stuff. So I had to learn it later. So I see it's a great honor and privilege to be able to structure that for them.
Yeah,
and they appreciate it. Sometimes they're kids, so you're like, pay attention.
Yeah.
But it's good.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. It's actually something I really want to implement, and I'm going to implement it because it's probably something I'm lacking in, really. Like I do a lot of that stuff with my professional life and my personal life a little bit, but I've never really extended it through the entire family. It's pretty rare, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
it is rare. I don't meet people very many that actually do it, or they have a model to do it.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of hard to say, like, this is how I do it. This is what works for me.
Yeah.
And have people follow it. I can share it and say, this is how I do it. And I can show you my schedule, and this works great for me. Maybe you're a pen and paper person. Maybe you need a 3-ring binder or a day planner or something. But I think it's so amazing to put that structure and start small, crawl, walk, run with the kids. You just say, just 3 to 5 goals this year, guys. Like, be creative. Think of it like, your Christmas list. So close your eyes, the way you think about Christmas, like no limits. Do that with your goals. Don't think about anything. Just think it would be so cool to accomplish. It's like something hard. My boy wanted to do a half marathon. We did one last year. He got to mile 9 and he wanted to quit. And I had to carry him from the finish line to the car.
Yeah.
It was brutal, but I didn't let him quit. And
how old is he?
He's 12. He was 12 when he finished. Yeah. He's 13 now. Yeah. And I was like, hey man, look, when I was like 28 or something when I did my first half marathon, you just did it at 12, and just instilling that in him to like set, it's very scary. We'll go head on with fear and being uncomfortable. And then we'll, if we don't achieve it, we learn. It's not failure. We're just learning. Yeah. And then let's try something again. So it's super basic fundamentals of like reading certain numbers of books. I like to incentivize them with cash rewards because they like that. Yeah. Some fitness stuff, push-ups, sit-ups. He's going through puberty right now. So he's like, really cares how he looks and smells. And
that's
he's like,
good.
Yeah, he's eyeing girls, and he told me he wants to be jacked for the summer.
Yeah.
So
is he your oldest?
He's the oldest.
Yeah.
Yeah. And really special boy. He's really talented. He won the speech competition 4 years in a row at Challenger. He's in 7th grade, and he competes with the seniors in debate.
Nice.
Yeah, he just did like a regional tournament, and he took 12th out of 300.
Really? Cool.
Yeah, high school and junior high kids.
I've talked about debate in a couple of podcasts where I think it's like the best skill you can learn as a youth.
Yeah, the communication skills. I know, it's amazing.
And the research, right? And like,
yeah,
you pick a position and you got to go either way.
Yeah, and be open-minded to hear like for or against, and like learn, critical thinking and crucial conversations. And I think it's an awesome thing to do. And he's just passionate about it. Yeah, he likes chess and debate, and he likes track and field. He likes running long distances. And
oh, cool.
Yeah, he's a good boy. But he likes the structure of all of that. He likes the goal setting. He likes the meetings and the reviews, and he listens. Now, his younger brother, he's like Wreck-It Ralph. Like, he just wants contact. He wants to wrestle with me, and he has a shorter attention span. He's like me when I was younger. I was like all over the place. Yeah. So I was joke with him about squirrel and what it's like in school and tapping, and I couldn't sit still when I was little. Yeah. And I never did Ritalin or anything like that, but I just had a tough time. And so he's different. You have to kind of conform to your kids a bit and lead them, relate with them a little bit differently.
Does the goal setting program, does it mold pretty easily to each kid?
I think so. Yeah. I think, leadership through action, if you can't speak it, you're not going to, or if you speak it, you better live it. Don't speak it if you're not going to live it. So leadership through action. So if I say stuff, I just over communicate about how I'm doing. Yeah. And I show them results, and I talk about how I'm feeling, and I'll tell them what I read from a book, and I'm just showing them, hey, I'm this far along with these things and making progress on my goals. And then in our family meeting, it's something that they feel like they're a part of, so they're accountable. Well, you said I didn't put a gun to your head or anything. I didn't like force you to come up. You came up with those things. Like, how you doing? Yeah. Do you want to raise the bar a little bit? Do you want to improve? And so hopefully just that cycle really early just teaches them that they can just keep doing that through life and keep reinventing themselves and grow. And it's really important because, no one's going to give that to you unless you've got an incredible mentor and you're teaching people that. But if you do it at home, oh man, I think it's a baseline for success.
Yeah, it's absolutely. The home is it's the best place to do all this stuff. Our kids are homeschooled, and I actually taught them last week because my wife was up at the women's retreat, and it was funny. We sat down, and my wife's very organized. She's probably a little bit more like you than I am. And, they go through their math and their grammar and their spelling, all this kind of stuff, right? And I'm like, hurry, guys, come on, hurry, get through this stuff, right? And because I wanted to spend 2 hours with them and I wanted to talk philosophy. I'm big into philosophy.
Love it, yeah.
And so I actually, this will be kind of funny, I hate reading books, right? In the world of like self-help books, right? I read a ton of them in my 20s, all the big name ones, right? And sure. I got really out of the habit of reading them because I feel like each book is 5 principles and then like endless stories about them, right? Sure. Instead of just condensing it down, making it efficient. And really all those principles all exist inside philosophy.
Yep.
But philosophy is hard to read, right?
Yeah.
Because you've got to read it, you got to think it, you got to apply it like almost every page, right? And so it's hard to go through a philosophy book.
Yeah.
And so
totally agree with that.
Yeah, me kind of like making it harder on myself. I'm going back to philosophy, and I'm also trying to get like really outside of it, right? And so, I talked to my kids for like an hour about just perspective, right? And how they show up in the world and how they...
Oh, that's awesome.
They tell people how to interact with them through their own perspective. And it was kind of fun because they really clicked, like all 3 of them, So I've got a 13-year-old daughter, 11-year-old boy, and a 7-year-old girl, right? And it's kind of fun with homeschool, right? Because the 7-year-old is just whipping through school because she's in the same room as the other ones as they're learning.
Yeah.
Math's a little
accelerating,
bit behind, but your youngest one normally reads quicker and talks quicker and interacts, all that kind of stuff. And so
they do grow up faster.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun spending the time with the kids and just, I don't know, just like seeing how their mind thinks and how it works and what's important to them. And
that's great though. I mean, you're being really intentional with them about behavior and thoughts and feelings with those thoughts and interaction with people and communication. Yeah. Where a lot of, I love my family, but we didn't talk about that stuff. Yeah. My life was just autopilot, like subconscious. Here's mac and cheese. Here's some cereal. Go play Nintendo. Yeah. You have a basketball game Saturday.
We're similar.
We have all that stuff too, but I love going deep with the family. Yeah. I love really going deep and...
Well, it's because you've created like a safe place for it, right? Like the safest place for it, 2 loving parents. And it's like, what do you guys need? What do you want?
Just the other day, this is how, this is winning to me at life. Winning. This is an example of winning. My son walks up to me. He's like, hey dad, you know how we've been talking about masturbation lately? And I was like, yeah. He goes, well, I've been trying it. And I was like, really? How's it going? He was like, pretty good. I was like, all right. And he goes, but I'm out of lotion. And I was like, oh, okay. Hold that thought. So I went and got him this little like water-based lubricant, I was like, try this, 2 drops to start, just 2 drops. Yeah. It's super slippery. And don't use rags and towels and boxers and stuff like that. Get toilet paper and go flush it when you're done. And he's like, okay, cool. Thanks, Dad. You're welcome. Wait a minute. I was like, how often is this happening? He's like, like two times a week, maybe 3 at the most. I was like, okay, let's stay there. That's a good number. Yeah. And so we talk about pornography. We talk about what it means to have healthy masturbation. Just like talking about, going and using the bathroom. And so it's not weird. And then he told me, I said, you talk to your friends about this. Any of your friends doing that? And he's like, no. And I was like, hey buddy, here's an opportunity for you to be a leader. Talk to him about it. It's just like going to the bathroom, man. It's nothing weird about it. Yeah. Mr. Rogers, who you and I grew up with, said, if you can mention it, you can manage it. If you can mention it, you can manage it. Sometimes managing something could take months or weeks. It's emotional and deep, but the first part is mentioning it. So I said, look, man, tell your friends about the water-based lubricant, you will be a hero. They will be like, Marcus, you're the man. So I tried to bring it up with my friends, and one of them told me that his dad said that, you know, it's against their religion to do it.
Yeah.
To you know, masturbate. And I was like, well, that's tough, because guess what? He's going to do it.
Yeah.
And guess how he's going to feel when he's done? And he's not going to feel safe talking to his dad about it, because I'm sure his dad did it too. And instead of telling him it's wrong and against the religion, what you could say is, hey, you know, you approach it a little bit different, and think about the way that you're communicating that. And now you might even feel like, man, I can't bring that up around him, you know? So I think a great conversation to have with him about, like, hey, you know, this happens. It's real. Yeah. It happens with young boys. Let's try to not pretend like it doesn't happen. And there's a smart and mature way to go about it, and prepare them for what they might be exposed through in conversation, or heading that off, and what the negative effects are of pornography and how prevalent it is, instead of just hush hush, you know, quiet. So to me, that's like winning. I told my wife, I was like, I would have died. I would have walked in a corner and crawled up in a ball if I had that conversation with my dad when I was little.
Yeah.
There's no way in hell. And he didn't even talk to me about barely puberty. It's so funny. I mean, they took me to maturation, and they're like, well, good. You know, well, the school did it, and we had that, and we're good. Well, okay. All right. Let's go figure it out. And then at school with your buddies, that's when you start joking around, and, you know, and unfortunately my position, being exposed to a lot of bad stuff, like wrong stuff. Yeah. And even in Utah. And so that's winning to me, going full circle. You know, 5 minutes ago, we were talking about safe space communication. My son to walk up and say that is like I'm winning as a dad. If you can talk to me about that, and not even bat an eye. Yeah. I know he'll come to me for everything.
Oh, absolutely. That's one thing that my wife and I have always done, is we always try and talk to them when they're little. I heard this saying, I don't know who said it, but it's like, if you listen to them when they're little, they'll talk to you when they're older. Yeah. Right. And so you just let them drive the conversation, right? Yeah. Just kind of sitting there and be like, yeah, this is it. Yeah. And just be honest, right? Yeah. Like when we've given the sex talk to 2 of our kids, right? Mm-hmm. And they brought, you know, they were both 7 actually when it came up, right? Yeah. Yeah. They heard about it in school and whatever, right? They saw a book, and my oldest daughter's they're actually all smart, but like, you know, she likes to figure stuff out. It's a better way to put it, right? Yeah. And so we were like, yeah. And you want to know what? Phil's awesome. That's why people do it. You know? It's like, that's so funny. Yeah. Because I hated that when you were a kid, right? It's evil. It's bad. You know, like, I know, and you just feel guilty. Yeah, I mean, the shame and all the bull crap that comes along with it, you know. Totally, deal with that later, right? Yeah, and now, you know, my son's like, what is sex like? And I'm like, it's amazing. Pretty good. Yeah. But well, that's another story, you know, when you get a little bit older and stuff. But that safe space, that communication is so important, you know, and it just bonds your family. It makes them feel safe, and makes them feel that they can talk to you about anything. If they can talk to you about that, they can talk to you about anything, you know? Yeah. And then it preps them as well for their life later down the road. Yeah. Especially when hard things happen too, right? Yes. Like it's so funny. I used to joke with people. I'm like, I've given my kids a complex, so I can't die. Right. So I've always, when they were little, I'm just talking like 2 years old. Right. When I was going to go to law school, right? And so I did a paralegal studies undergraduate, and I had a lot of criminal justice classes. And so I studied like To Catch a Predator type stuff, and like, child abuse and all this kind of crap. Right? Sure. Mostly because that show was popular at the time, and it would drop my jaw every time I watched an episode. I was like, how did these dudes end up here? Yeah. You know? Yeah. Like, what are you doing? It's a slippery slope, man. It's crazy, right? It's a slippery slope. And I always told my kids, like, I noticed one thing, right, is like a lot of those guys would tell these kids, right, like, if you ever tell your parents, I'll kill them, you know? So I've been whispering to my kids since they were 2, right? Yeah. Like, Dad can't die. Yeah. No one can hurt your dad. Mm-hmm. I'm bigger than everybody, you know? I hate to say that. And it's just like, if anything ever happens to you, you come to dad. I don't care. I will take care of it. I'll bury the body. Right. Like that's kind of like this whole theme with them.
Yeah.
And it was funny after like 4 or 5 years, I do it with all of them. I still do it with them.
Yeah.
And I was joking with my wife. I'm like, shit, I better not die of cancer or something. And they're going to be real confused,
like you said, you couldn't die. Yeah.
Because I always just thought, man, I just hated the thought of being in my house, right? If that was happening to one of my kids and they couldn't tell me because this jackass said they'd kill me.
Threaten them, right? Yeah, or kill you or something.
It's the exact opposite.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I love that. Honestly, I've never even considered talking to my kids about masturbation.
It's very real. Yeah.
I would talk very openly with them. Right. But did you attack that issue or did you let them bring it to you?
It evolved. So, when you talk about just, younger kids, there's a very black and white body parts. There's penis and vagina and sperm and egg and stuff like that. And then as they start to mature, we started talking actually about wet dreams.
Yeah.
And like that nothing's wrong with you. Nothing, it's totally normal, bud. And that might happen at night. And so the conversation just evolved. Mm-hmm. And then I said, and something else that'll probably come up either alone or with your friends is masturbation. And, and I define it, like really clearly what it is. And then the ejaculation happens and, that it's really common for men and women to do that. And so it just creates that safe space where, it can also, like anything, bud, can be abused. Anything can be abused and anything can take you down a slippery slope.
Yeah.
So it's that level of awareness for him right now to know it's safe. I'm going through maturity. I smell like onions. I'm growing, and I have boners all the time.
I can't shake them.
Yeah. It's funny as a dad to joke around about that stuff with him, but it's safe, and it's just kind of a drip here and there. We don't go for 2 hours talking about it, and I don't go in tons of detail, but just make him feel safe. So like any questions about that, I'm here for you, and just know that it's totally normal. It happens. Don't feel bad or anything like that. But we want to create awareness about things that are harmful to your mind or to your body. Safe sex, sexually transmitted diseases, taking care of yourself, and also respecting women and going into pornography about teaching men. It teaches men to objectify women. They're an object. And then it doesn't teach you how to connect with a woman and listen. And because at the end of the day, bud, all you want from me as a dad, all you want from me, the number one thing you want from me is to feel and be loved.
Yeah.
Guess what, bud? That's the only thing I want too.
Yeah.
I want that from you. I want it from mom. I just want to be loved. Do you know how you love someone? You stare him in the eye and you talk to him. And you listen to him and you ask questions and your spirit connects and you're close. And then when you do that with your partner, and that's really authentic, when you go have sex later, it's a different kind of sex. You're present and you're there with each other. And so I've talked to him about that, and I just want him prepared. I want his tool belt loaded with in our house, we call them warnings and examples. So in life, there's warnings and examples everywhere. Warnings of behavior, warnings of addiction, warnings of vices, warnings of groups of people, toxic people, victim mentality, all of that. But then there's examples, like examples of behavior, examples of winning, examples of learning, right? Of development. Examples of human when you're like, damn, every time I'm by that person, I just feel better. The energy is so great. Can you model that, bud? Can you model that behavior? Can you model that? Yes, absolutely. If Tom Hanks can turn into 70 characters, you can certainly choose how you're going to show up, buddy.
Yeah.
And so we talk about warnings and examples, and then it goes right back into, the topic of sex or masturbation for a young boy. There's warnings and there's examples, and the examples are the real topic of what is healthy masturbation. It's very real, and there's a whole outline of what that means. and the benefits for men to do it, and how to keep it safe, and how to keep your mind clean, and how to, regulate that a bit. And then talking about, vices, and if you have a vice, you're not in control. That vice has you on a leash. It's just pulling you. Yeah. But if you're in control of your thoughts, your emotions, and your decisions, and your responses, and how you show up, you're a master. You can do anything in life, So
do you guys have a lot of individual talks with your kids, or do you do it as a group?
Yeah, man.
Do you try and do as much group as possible? Or do you like to do it more individual?
Yeah. So I'll share something with you that's completely, it's probably one of the most magical things in our family. When we were in Iceland on these long drives, I had some questions prepped for the guys. Everyone share 2 or 3 ways that you show up for your wife. Yeah. Tell me 2 or 3 things you do in your home that you think really adds so much value to your family. Brandon, Andra, and I shared the exact same thing. And every night at dinner, we go through a process called rose, bud, thorn. And it's really simple. And everyone shares a rose, bud, and a thorn. The rose is your highlight. It's a magic moment. It's a happy moment for the day. A bud is something that's coming up, is emerging, right? So it's something you're looking forward to. And a thorn is a hard part of your day. And sometimes there's no thorn. But what happens is we give everyone the floor and we all listen. And someone says, my rose is hanging out with Mark today and being on the podcast. That was super cool. Yeah. My bud, I'm looking forward to running with the bulls. My thorn, I found out that, and this is true, I found out one of my dear friends' dad passed yesterday. And I just overwhelmed with emotion yesterday thinking about that for him and praying for him. And so when you give that space to kids, it allows them to take their garbage can that's full of emotions and thoughts and everything and dump it. They empty it every day.
Yeah.
And sometimes those thorn moments turn into 20-minute conversations where everyone in the family is respectful and we listen, and someone's crying and we hug them. And how do you feel now? And do we need to take this? You want to go on a walk after dinner? Keep talking about this, Or it could be like my son would be like, Dad, I have a thorn, but it's kind of private. I just want to talk with you about it and not Mom. Sure, buddy. We'll make sure we do that. So it creates this space where it's like beautiful moment, looking forward to, and dealing with emotions.
Yeah.
And that's every single day. And sometimes you share with them, emotions are like being in a boat on the ocean. And sometimes it's going to feel like your boat's going to sink. The waves are 50 feet high. They're crashing over the edges. There's lightning and storms. And then God taught us that this too shall pass. And I promise you, the storm will go away.
Yeah.
The waves will calm down. The boat will be smooth. And all of a sudden the sun's out and there's seagulls. Like, whoa, what happened? Those are your emotions, okay? And sometimes they're like crumbling up pieces of paper and filling up your garbage can. If you don't share your emotions, man, that garbage can is going to get overflowed and it's going to dump and there's going to be a blow up or something's going to happen.
Yeah.
So anytime you need to let me get on your boat with you or dump the garbage, do not hesitate. Don't wait. Just talk to me. So to answer your question a minute ago, it turns into 45 minutes, 90 minutes, 2 hours where nothing matters but this and how they're feeling. And then when we're done, how are you feeling? You okay? Does it feel better? And so teaching them at a super young age about emotional intelligence, emotional management, but the importance of sharing and communicating their feelings.
I love that. We, in our family, my wife instituted a thing we call laugh, cry, and smile.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of do the same thing. It's like, what made you cry today? What made you smile today? What made you laugh today?
Yeah.
And it's, I like that though, because I like the future aspect of the bud.
Yeah, it's cool because, the bud is, the kids that would be like, I'm so stoked for Lake Powell.
Yeah.
It's in June. It's my favorite place in the world. and they'll be stuck on it for 2 minutes. Be like, okay, what's your thorn? Thanks.
Yeah, they're like
yeah.
So yeah, I get, and really the point, right? You just need a catalyst to talk, right?
Yeah, you just need that
to open up and.
Yeah, you need that talking point. So we have that every night at dinner, and then we have in our family meetings. And
are you guys able to do every night dinner?
Quite a bit. It's hard now with our 3.5 month old little girl.
Yeah,
but we try to be as consistent as possible. Very disciplined around that.
So that flows into your professional life as well, then, right?
Yeah.
So do you have a hard set time you leave work every day then?
Oh yeah, I'm a robot, dude. I wake up at 4:30 every day. I have a very specific routine that I follow. I work out, and then I go through MITs, my most important tasks. I run Eisenhower boxes constantly. Do, decide, delegate, delete, what's urgent, not urgent, and important. And then I do it the night before in bed too. So I have a nighttime routine, and then I habit track. So I literally put 5 to 7 things that I want to track throughout the month. And then I just put X's by them if I do them. So at the end of the month, I'm a percentage. I'm like, hey, look, I did 70, I did 90, and then I love myself through the process. I could try to get to 100, but things come up. Like stuff happens. I can't hit the gym right now. This came up. I have to go put this fire out.
Yeah.
So I'm very, I guess, driven by a routine.
Yeah. Yeah. I've given into a routine finally. Oh, I've always had a routine, right? But my wife is people will call her a fitness fanatic, but she's actually not. She's just routine driven. And, we've started a couple of weeks ago going to the gym at like 5:15, right? And I've always, I don't know why, I've always fought that. And it was actually going to Bear Lake in one of our Ludices where it was one of the little epiphanies I had where I was like, why do you fight this? Your best friend, the person you love to be around the most, goes to the gym every morning. Why are you not in the car with her?
That's awesome.
You can read a book together. So we read together on the way there.
That's so good.
We talk about because, we go to Lifetime. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I see you guys.
Just shy of 20 minutes to get there, right? And it's like on the way back, we call them affirmations, but we just actually talk to each other and praise each other on each other. It's just 100% positive. I don't even have a name for it, right? We're just loving each other, I guess.
It's beautiful. And if you didn't go, you'd miss that.
Yeah. And it's like, there's all
and then
this
you feel
time.
better when you're done too. You're like, man,
way better.
Great. Yeah.
And I did this stupid thing where I'm like, well, I'll go to the gym as soon as work's done. Well, work's never done. It's just never done. And
that's the brain though, wanting to come up with excuses.
Yeah.
Taming that always.
Yeah. Yeah. You gotta, that morning routine, it's probably like the biggest thing for my 2023 is it's like, just go do it. Stop fighting it.
Yeah. Yeah. Keith Cunningham is the rich dad in Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And one time I heard him speak at Tony Robbins Resort, actually in Fiji. And he said something so profound. He said, do you ever schedule time to think? And I was like, he said, I schedule time to think. I schedule specific time. I literally put it, and he showed his calendar. It's blocked for me to think. And here's what I do. I set meetings all day long with people and I'm moving things forward and I have priorities and stuff, but I understood the most important thing to have me being able to serve outwardly at my best is scheduling time to think for myself. And then during that time, I'm addressing things that support mental health, physical health, my spirituality. So it's basically a morning routine. It's basically I think about where I'm at. I just sit and be still, which is the hardest thing for me when I was young. And one of the hardest things to actually master was meditation and sitting still. It does not suit my personality. So he schedules time to think, and then he outlines, his day. He thinks about how he's going to make it so successful. He visualizes how he's going to show up. He has gratitude exercises. He sends love out to people, forgives who he needs to forgive. And then he's ready to show up. And that was profound. I was like, dang, schedule time to think. I am scheduling time to think. That's my time. That's sacred time. And so I do that every morning before the gym. And, you know, I'm human. I'm like everyone else. Sometimes I don't want to get up and I have to fight that. But I'm always so grateful that I do and I did. And I'm, you know, working to be disciplined that way.
Yeah.
It's been really helpful just to take care of myself. And then I can be the best leader, the best dad, the best husband.
Yeah.
And I'm not reactive to things.
Well, another thing too, like you love yourself along the way, right?
Yes.
Like you said that a few times, and it's I kind of want to hit on that because I think it's kind of like the shame and guilt growing up in whatever culture you grow up in, right? Like if you don't take the time to be like, I don't have to be perfect. I just want to be
better. Yep. Yeah. That's what people struggle with. And then they also get in the comparison trap.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm mentoring 2 of my younger brothers and my nephew right now. I could pull the text thread up when my nephew says, I'm not you, 3 times in the thread. And I have to pull up a video message and say, guys, remember how we talk about comparison? You're only in competition with yourself.
Yeah.
If I wanted to rewind time to when I was 22, Caden, and we did an A/B comparison, you know, in a super similar spot to you, bro.
Yeah.
So you don't compare at all, okay? We're in this group because you've decided you want to raise the bar, and you get to define what that means for you. Raising my bar is different. Now, I'm inspired by Jocko Willink or David Goggins. I'm inspired by that level of discipline. Can I be that person? What more am I capable of? But if I don't hit it, I know at the end of the year, there's a massive amount of progress that I've made, you know?
Yeah.
And so, you know, discipline is just the gateway to freedom. Discipline is the gateway to unlocking everything. But you love yourself along the way. Don't make up excuses and bullshit. Like, oh, I'm doing good. I'm doing 50-50, but make sure that you're not in that comparison trap. You're not hard on yourself. There's no guilt or shame. You're like, hey, you know, I'm off a bit, but I'm dedicated to getting back on and being more consistent this time and showing up differently. And that journey is just how you learn about yourself.
Yeah.
It's how you learn about the best of yourself.
Yeah. And you find a lot of happiness along the way too, right? And peace.
Yeah.
That's what I don't there's a lot of peace in loving yourself, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I think is where everyone really wants to get, right? I think people have a really hard time. Well, they have a really hard time defining success, right?
Mm-hmm.
Really hard time defining happiness, and really it has to do with peace.
Yeah.
Like, is your life peaceful?
Yeah.
You know, like my home, one thing I've tell people is my home is like my sanctuary, right? It's very peaceful in my home. There's no yelling. There's just love. There's, you know, exploration. My children are there. Like everything that I like hold the most dear exists inside that home.
Yeah.
And when the peace gets, if something not peaceful, if my kids are fighting, you know, like I'm very quick to be like, whoa.
Yeah.
You know, we're going
disruptive.
back down to neutral, back down to pH, right? Just,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to make this nice and easy for everybody.
Yeah.
Because I need that. I need to go home and recharge in that environment, do things for me, you know, health and wellness and meditation and spend time with my wife, be intimate with my wife, be intimate with my kids, you know, have those conversations. Then I can go out in the world and just deal with all the bullshit, right? Because that's all it is, you know.
Yeah.
And I show up better for my friends. I show up better for my brothers in Watt, my employees, my partners, everybody, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But you got to have that recharge at home.
Yes.
So
totally. I love the word harmony or harmonious.
Yeah.
Like that energy state of things being very harmonious and maintaining that at home. And I think it's really important to have that peace and balance it and talk about it with the kids too. So
we're kind of switching gears a little bit because we've got a hard out here in about 10 minutes.
yeah.
But kind of talking more business, when in your business life, because you just had an exit from a pretty large company, right?
Yeah.
Did you have partners? Did you own it alone?
I own 86%.
Okay. Did you just have like silent partners kind of thing?
Yeah. Former guys early on. It's so funny when you start and you structure cap table, you're like, you're such an idiot. But long vesting schedules and absolutely earned their portion.
Yeah.
So just those types of people, senior VPs and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Developers that,
Did they all exit at the same time?
Everybody was out except one person was with us when we exited.
Oh, okay.
So they had served their vesting time, served their journey. We're a 12-year-old company, and they had left. A couple of them left at like 7 years, one at 9, and then one was still there. Nice. But it you guys earned it. Like, thank you. I'm so grateful, and it's so cool. I mean, no one knew what we were doing. I control everything, so I was like, hey guys, good news. I need your bank routing and account numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So your new venture, I've heard whisperings of it. Have you actually started it, or are you still in development?
So right now we're in development, but we will launch April 10th. So I could say, if you're editing this, we launched April 10th. So yeah, and it's a really amazing, beautiful story of putting together a crazy puzzle piece between my background, my passions, Watt, and seeing opportunities in the market, and then capitalizing on them ultimately. So, I'll give you the Cliff Notes version, but there's a ton of information that's out there, and we're really gonna snowball, I think, and grow quick. So, I knew 8 months ago, actually, I was going to exit. And so this process of like, what am I going to do next started. I was analyzing OpenAI, background in technology. I was analyzing healthcare, data science, a lot of really fast growing industries and very stable industries, looking all over biz, buy, sell, and looking at businesses to buy. Nothing was speaking to me. The best thing I did was spend time with 30 to 40 people like yourself, and I'd ask 6 questions. Where opportunities do you see? What industries do you think you're going to really blow up? Do you have a vertical in your business you've wanted to build, but you don't want to chase multiple rabbits that I could focus on and partner with you? You know me best. What's my superpower? And the last one was, who else should I talk to? And I'd take all those notes and just as thorough as possible in spreadsheets. And then I would go during my scheduled time to think time and crunch them. And it really led me down some beautiful paths. One of my buddies, brilliant dude, runs a 200 million, actually they'll do 250, so $250 million company, roofing. He's a Wharton guy, and he's like, you're putting the cart in front of the horse, Cody. He's like, what would you do for 8 hours a day if time and money didn't matter? I was like, there, now you're talking. Yeah. And I said, that's easy. I would mentor young adults. And you get a little snippet of it the way that I do with my son, about all the things that I've learned, all my trials, all my ups, downs. Always hated, frustrated with the high school curriculum. And unfortunately, a lot of kids don't get the right type of coaching from their parents. So there's a massive gap. And then we have to have groups like Watt to fill that stuff, to help with emotions and stuff like that. But I want to start at a foundation level. Cool. Well, focus on that. I'm like, well, I don't want to be a coach. And then a lot of the questions, when it was like, what's my superpower with people, they were like, your superpower is your ability to map vision, connect dots, execute, and measure. It's really unique to be able to do all 4 of those. Yeah. You should be an elite coach. You should charge people a lot to teach them how to get whipped in shape. So it's coach. I'm like, I don't, gosh, okay. Meanwhile, I go on a walk with Brandon Andra here at the point of the mountain, Empower, He's like, maybe you should look at door to door, because I work with 18 to 25-year-olds all day. And I was like, that's interesting. I don't know anything about your industry. I don't know anything about it. That's interesting. I'll chew on that. So while I started to think about that a bit more, super blessed to have Brandon, my buddy in roofing, Kevin Maynor in Aptive Pest Control, Levi Henry in Windows. And I asked these guys, I started asking tons of questions to learn product and inventorying and margins and sales teams and, scale and everything that you need to do when you look at a business. And during that process, I just had this had a couple of things hit me really hard. And one of them was the demographic of people that, like, most of these companies are hiring are 2-year return missionaries. You know, they knock for Jesus, they're golden boys. And then I asked Brandon, I said, do you ever hire people that have troubled backgrounds, or like backgrounds that are, you know? He's like, no, they don't mesh well with the culture. I just wouldn't relate to them. So I thought, wow. So it started to kind of come together. I was like, well, I think you're missing a demographic to hire and to coach and teach. I was like, do you teach anybody about your do you teach your customers about financial freedom, or it's just in-house? He's like, no, just in-house. I'm like, you could monetize that if you want to actually teach your customers about financial freedom. And then it really ties them into the company. So I just started to, you know, my entrepreneur brain's working. But then, you know, I realized, I was like, wow, I have a really incredible opportunity to serve not only young adults, but a specific group. Because when I was 13 to 16, I experienced some really crazy things. So I did every drug you can imagine: LSD, shrooms. I sold pounds of weed. I did everything. I had a DUI when I was 16. One of my best friends murdered someone over a drug deal. I lived in motels, drive-bys. So there's a side of me that was really headed down a path to be incarcerated. My parents didn't know what to do with me.
Yeah.
And then the Lord came to my life and showed me warnings and examples. He showed me a warning of Satan, temptation, and I moved to examples. And since that time, I've changed my life. I did go through a divorce in 2016, which was a really hard time, but emerged through that and went through that downfall, and loved myself, healed through that. And I have a great relationship, you know, with my former spouse. Met the love of my life. We have another baby now, a little girl now. So I'm at this point now, and then exiting, I'm at this place where I feel like I can fly. Like, I'm at the place that you described: peace, comfort, joy, happiness. I know exactly who I am. Yeah. I know what I'm capable of, but I also know there's kids at Utah Foster Care, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, the Other Side Academy, New Roads, that are wicked talented like I was, that don't have the right guidance and mentorship. So told Brandon, I'm like, I think I could recruit some of them. The right people. You can't be a sex offender. You can't have felonies. You can't. Yeah. I'll put a filter on who's right. You have to have grit and drive, and you have got to be active. I'm not going to bring you in here to fail. If I invest in you, you're the right person. But then I could coach them, and I could create the way that we have accountability groups in Watt. Some of these 2-year return missionaries, I know they're going to put a hand down and serve. I think I could create a cool culture. And then it kind of hit me. I was like, oh my gosh, I can embed my own coaching program in the company and call it the Hero Journey. So my company is called Hero, and we have a 10-step Hero Journey leadership development program. That's a blend of the best of everything I've been exposed to: Tony Robbins, grad school, running a business, Watt, but very, very specific to young adults and what they need fundamentally to help them best manage, you know, their life and what they're going through. So it's a 2-year, 10-step program, and every 2 months we rotate subjects. But before we rotate, we take 2 weeks to focus on implementation. So we talk about what we learned and 1 or 2 gold nuggets, real key critical takeaways of what you're doing in your life to implement something. Because we've been drinking from the fire hose for 2 months, overwhelming, just 1 or 2 things, you know? Yeah. That's a 2-year hero journey. And when they come out of that, you know, they should just be really a changed human. They should transform, they should heal, they should learn, they should evolve. So that focuses on fulfillment. That's heart and soul. And then professional achievement is when we crush income, we're expanding, we're growing. The combination of those two is potent. It's a really beautiful recipe. And so I talked to Jimmy about it, and he's like, I think it's incredible. You know, you have my support. I think it's amazing. And then I was just analyzing the opportunities. Like, solar is kind of a gold mine. The country's only at 4% renewables, so 96% of the country could use solar, but it's highly saturated. And I went to door-to-door con. I was just there. I was a sponge. Just listened, learned. And what I learned is no one does door-to-door windows, like not very many companies. And it's also a sleeper. So if someone knocks on your door, you're like, that's either pest control, solar, or maybe alarm systems.
Yeah.
So I learned about the business. I saw the margins. I saw the way the business is structured to scale. It's primarily a sales engine, subbing out install and copying sales teams everywhere around the US, close to the manufacturer's warehouse. So you don't inventory product. You don't do anything except crush sales. And then I thought about the models too. I really didn't like that these guys leave their families for 3 months, 6, 9 months. And, I thought, well, Levi's company, they'll do 100 million this year, and they net roughly 20% net. That's a good business.
Yeah.
It's a great business. And he's in 9 markets in 3 years. So, and I learned that they only knock. They don't do online inbound leads. They don't do outbound call center dials. They're a different culture. We have a super strong why at the company. And then I just started to find ways that I could make it amazing. And there's a couple of things I think that are really unique and powerful. One is I'm giving away 30% of it via an LTIP. So the LTIP's a long-term incentive plan. The sales team makes points every time they sell. And those points essentially make a sum total. So if there are 1 million points when we exit in 7 or 8 years, you just take your point total. If you had 50,000 points, well, you got 5% of the 30.
Yeah.
So at time of transaction, that's what it is. And I've made it so it's just based on becoming a growth monster. So the first 50 people get what's called Founding 50. It's a 10,000 point bonus. It's a 5-year vesting cliff. So it'll weed out people that aren't loyal, and people disappear, then your points are worth more. And then there's one called a market opening bonus of 20,000 points. So if you go open Phoenix, Houston, Dallas, Tampa, your point value goes way up, and it's incentivizing people to move forward. I'll put them through a leadership track similar to something like Jocko Willink would do, super specific books, training to make sure they can run a market. And then I'll support and fund, expansion to these markets, travel there, help them recruit teams. I see it like college football. No one goes to Alabama for a degree. They go for Nick Saban. So I want to be the Nick Saban to say, look, we'll change your life. Yeah. We'll change your life with the coaching. We'll change your career with income and professional development. And just so you guys know, I will sell this business. So we have a recurring model with cleaning windows and gutters, which is actually like really attractive.
Yeah.
So, heavy hits, baseball terminology, triples and homers with replacement windows. It's an excellent product. It's not really, really expensive, and it's not the cheap stuff. It's a 50, 70-year product you can be proud of, and the benefits it gives the home, the increase in equity. So big hits that way, and then base hits with cleaning and maintenance. Commission levels are crazy. Like, they're stupid, actually. You wouldn't believe them unless you saw them. Brandon and I have done ABs, and he's like, this is exactly on par. Some of it's even better than solar.
Do you have any partners with it?
No partners.
Okay.
No. Yeah, no partners. I'm just doing, the 30%. And the other thing that Brandon talked to me about was a recruiting override, which I thought was brilliant. He's like, most companies do $1,000, $500, $1,500. No one remembers it. Offer them $5,000, but spread it out over 20 installs. So they get $250 per install for 20 installs. He's like, offer it for anybody. It doesn't matter if it's an external referral. Get the community referring. Give your C-suite guys, give your person that's been there a week the override. You can absorb it because it's per deal. If they only last 7, 10 deals, you're out $2,500. But the company didn't expense that cash. Yeah. You can absorb it when the cash, because we pay cash up front with customers, or finance, we get the cash. So he was like, you will snowball. And so we've launched with about 13 people. And I think when we hit 20, it'll just start to roll. So we're testing Salt Lake, right? Tech stacks, lead flow, CRMs, marketing funnels, inbound leads. So I'm going wild right now, supporting our controller, supporting our social media teams, filming tons of videos. And my founder story will come out, which is what I just told you about my youth. It's about a 4-minute video to tell everyone. What's really cool, really powerful. I was recruiting this kid the other day. I took him to this barbecue place, Goodwood and Draper. I just told him my life, and he started to like tear up. And he was like, the whole reason why I moved out of Wisconsin is to get away from my family because they're all doing drugs. And I think it would have destroyed my life. And so I really don't have anyone out here. And so I was just like, man, welcome. Like, I'll show you how you can really change your life. So we have, 4 key objectives: transform 100 lives, do 100+ million, go to 10 markets, and I have a 10-year commitment. So what I want to do, my intent for everyone, is to teach them about what I did wrong with my last company. Because right now they probably laid off like 15% of the staff, and through M&A. And that sucks. Right. I mean, it really sucks. These are people that have been there 5 years and you love them, and you're like, sorry, I can't control that. I can try to be a reference or support you. I can't hire you, with our agreements and stuff, but try to give you a reference. And so to share that in transparency with the team now, to say, that's the summit. I'm not chasing other rabbits. I'll have real estate investments and stuff like that, but I will grind to build this, and I will champion it. And 10 years is my max. So the company will sell before that. It could sell in 6. I don't know. We'll see. But you have my commitment to that. I want to transform 100 lives. I don't want the person standing in front of their house with their windows and they're like, yay. I want the person like this kid from Wisconsin. Yeah. 2 years later that I'm like, tell me, man, like, just tell me about the company and what it's meant to you. That's what I'm after. That's the whole intent. So I've spent weeks and weeks on mission, vision, values, manifesto, purpose. I hired a professional writer, and I love it, man. I'll text it to you.
Yeah, I love it.
It's so powerful. And so when you lay that all out in transparency and say, hey, 10 markets, 10 years, 100 million, 100 lives, it just creates this energy with people. I mean, I had 3 people commit last night. We were at Top Golf. I just told him, the guy was like, well, when can I start? What are next steps? I want to be in on this. This is one of the top guys at Vivint. And so it's going to be really exciting. It'll be challenging, but it's a really beautiful business model. It's a sleeper. Yeah. I never would have been on my radar. I was under NDA for some businesses to buy and look at. And so it's been a blessing to be in Watt, to be exposed to some of that, to learn about it. And so I'm doing, Levi's business model in Windows, Brandon's culture at Empower, but I'm building a lot of Jimmy's coaching, like that Watt 10-step program in one. And then you understand the equity in that model that way. So it just creates an environment where it's transparent. And then I make it transparent in a Notion. I don't know if you've used Notion, but
I haven't.
It's like Wikipedia for a company.
Oh, okay.
Fully transparent. Vacation policy, incentive trips, commission, office manual, request time off, benefits. So right here, people can in real time check to see how they're qualifying for an incentive trip. Yeah. See everyone across the company, their commission, they're tracking, and also track their LTIP points in real time. So Robbie built all that.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, he built all of the macros and all the craziness behind it. It's been a lot of work with him, actually.
Is he coming on board in this?
So he's on. So I have a controller,
yeah.
And then he's consulting the controller. I don't. It's too early to bring him on.
Right.
Yeah. Sure. Federal, but eventually I'll engage him more and more. Right now, he had to build the foundation for projections and the commission tracking and the spreadsheets, so the controller can come in and just do their job.
Yeah.
So that's it, man.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Is there no investors or anything then?
No investors. No, not yet. I've had, it's wild. I went through this process. 2 of the guys I'm bringing on are pretty experienced in the window industry. And one of them said, hey, can I put 100, 200 grand in this? And he's like, as much as I love getting LTIP points and I'll go open a market, I'd love to get a little bit more. And I said, I'm honored. Thank you. Let me think about that. I started messaging with Brandon while he was in Thailand, actually. I was like, what do you think if I allowed people to buy points, like Delta points? And he's like, companies do it. I think it's amazing. The problem with that, and I love a tribal knowledge, like a very open dialogue and making decisions. I'm decisive. I'll make the decision, but I want everyone to know that I value their opinion. Yeah. So I floated it to 6 or 7 people at the company. And they were like, that's awesome. It's amazing. And then we started to fill it out more. It's like, well, what if your rich uncle comes and gives you $1 million and you dilute everyone because you have so many more points? And then it was like, well, what if you could buy a maximum of points per year so you can invest and increase your point value? But I don't know if that's really fair for 18-year-old setters that are setting appointments that they don't have that cash flow yet. Yeah. So the short answer was no, that we're going to leave it on merit only. On expansion.
Can I ask you how much capital it takes to get this going?
150 grand, 200 grand.
Really?
Yeah. Not a lot.
I'm shocked. I thought you were going to say more like 5 million.
No, there's no dude, I come from technology. I come from development. I come from, you need an office. It's commission only. 98% of the company is 1099. Yeah. There's a few people, the controller's W-2, the office manager will be W-2. So you're very protected. You're not doing liability with, you don't have tax challenges. It's just independent contractors. You teach them about how to run S-Corps. Like, this is why you want to be an independent contractor. I'm going to show you how to run tax benefits and your write-offs. You're going to treat it like a business. And then you're not buying your TRX. You're going to start buying properties. And that's it. We will have a budgeting and finance module, and I'll bring people like Brandon in to talk about how we make decisions. Yeah. We'll go through emotions, but you're not making emotional decisions with your money. So it doesn't really require a lot. I mean, there's no technology to build. There's licenses, there's the CRM and the lead stuff, and that's a few grand. I mean, there's Robbie, there's my attorney, which is a big chunk of it, getting the employment agreements, the subcontractor agreements, the offer letter stuff. There's this big stack of stuff to do that. There's recruiting events. The swag, is a big ticket item to order all the swag. But, once you cut them loose on the doors, there's not a lot of expense. Your expenses are PPC conversions. You're monitoring conversion for online ads. It doesn't take a lot. That's another reason why if you go in pest control or even solar, the expenses to start were way bigger. Yeah. Good leads in solar, $600 to $1,200 for like a qualified lead. Windows, 5% of that. Yeah. So
do you think you could sell that business model?
Yeah.
Plug and play different products, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think you can sell it. I think the recurring on the cleaning and the gutter cleaning and the window cleaning is powerful because that's a recurring. It's like a pest control model. But I think you can absolutely sell the sales engine that exists and create these branches. You'll have physical offices, you'll have representation, and windows never go away. Yeah. They don't. And I saw holes as well in these other businesses. I'm like, are you storm chasing? Are you hitting Kansas and Mississippi and tornadoes that go through? Because the insurance cuts checks. You just knock and pay deductibles. No, we're not. I'm like,
why not?
Well, that's the way when you're looking at, selling it and prepping it to sell, that representation, big footprint, established in the city a long time, big brand name, there's a constant flow. You get in these cities with 10 million people, 15 million people. You can have teams of 150 knocking for 10 years. You're not going to get all the houses. Yeah. So it's never going to go away. And they're needed in Alaska, Texas, Hawaii. And I like the idea of letting people work in their city. You don't need to leave your family. But one thing we'll do that I like is blitzing cities periodically. So if we had 5 offices open between Florida and Texas and Arizona and stuff, I could say, hey guys, we're gonna blitz North Carolina. We need 20 people. We got Airbnbs. We're gonna go out there and work our butts off for 10 days. And then it plants seeds in people. Is anyone interested in running this market? Really establishing, we'll take care of your moving costs and everything. So yeah, you would love the numbers. You're a numbers guy, you're a finance guy. When I was looking into it, and
honestly, I like the culture better.
Yeah, the cult. Well, yeah. Well,
I know what you're saying, but that's
it all just makes sense though, because it's a cash heavy business up front too. You take cash from people immediately, and you give them cash discounts for paying in full. You're covering plenty of the margin for costs of window, labor, and a bunch more to cover commission immediately. And there's leftover before you even collect the back half. So the margins are great. And, it's something that you can cross-sell into. You're very established. Well, then we're going to do Hero Roofing. We're going to do Hero Solar. We're going to do Hero. So I think at the right time where there's that historical history of like, this is the company, this is our path, this is our recurring model. And here's our opportunity to take the data that we've nurtured these customers, and we can now sell these other products. I think a PE firm or someone will be like, let's go.
You say we'll have to go pump some iron together. So I'm not disturbing your day, because I've looked at about 4 solar companies to either purchase or raise money for.
Yeah. In
the last year. And we'll have to talk about that. I don't want to.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to you about it. I
trash them on the pod.
I feel like that's another avenue as well, where the landscape of solar will change because of the competition. Yeah. The commissions are going to go down. It's going to have a lot more stress on it and pressure. It's still, in the longer scheme of things, 20, 30 years, it's still early, but there's just challenges. I mean, look at when you talk to Brandon about what happened to his company because of California just changed their mind. It's like, whoa, it was highly disruptive. Yeah. So,
well, my biggest thing is I look at those guys and I feel, and this is probably arrogant for me to say, but I don't think I'm wrong. They did not understand the actual business model. Mm-hmm. They grabbed sales guys and they just threw up sales everywhere, right?
Yeah.
They can't get stuff installed.
Yeah.
They can't find good installers. Their financing's all over the place.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
They're pumping cash in, and then they did the stupidest thing ever. They went around and stole everybody else's sales guys by paying them more money.
Yeah.
The next guy did it. The next guy did it. The next guy did it.
Yeah.
And really, I only see the people making money in solar are the sales agents.
Yeah, exactly.
Actual companies are down, they're single digits and net.
Yeah.
But
totally agree. That was part of my analysis.
Yeah, you must have looked at it.
Well, it was part of my analysis as well. And looking at something that's, I can scale. I can go to cities. I don't need to move people. It's way less to run online ads and leads and build that engine. I have a recurring. How do you sell recurring on solar stuff? It's so complementary, and it's not complicated. We don't wash the inside of the windows. You do that. We wash the outside and we clean your gutters twice a year, once a year, and it just recurs. And we schedule that, separate part of the business. Install, roofing's messy. A week, you're kicking tiles off, there's liability. Yeah. Solar's not too bad, but windows, I was talking to Jerem, we lift every Wednesday morning. I'm like, bro, I was thinking about installing windows and the logistics and the PMing and all that. And I thought about you building custom homes, and I just wanted to cringe, like, oh my God, how many specialty vendors do you manage and products and things? And we're basically cutting squares and rectangles and putting in caulking and finishing, and handling fires or whatever as they come up. So I don't think it's a very complicated business. There will be challenges, but it's something that can scale. And that's what I was looking for. I needed a vehicle. And I tell people this too. And even the solar guys are pests. They're like, Windows? I'm like, yeah, I actually really like it because it's a great product. It's needed. It adds home value. Reduces, your expenses, your electrical bills and things. It's a 50, 70-year product. But Windows aligns as a metaphor to the company of opening up new windows of perspective and letting light shine in. I will shine a light on all of you in some of the places you might not want to talk about. And you might run, but I promise it'll help you. So I tell people, I'm like, it didn't matter if it were Crocs or car tires or it's a model. I needed a business model. Yeah. And what's cool about it, I grew up in retail. So I loved talking to people face to face and like constant change of retail. And I've been at a desk job in a tech company for 12 years. So I'm actually really excited to get on the front lines of people and lead from the front, you know, and lead the team that way.
No, it's super exciting what you've got going.
Thanks.
Really, really exciting.
Yeah. Thank you. I think that, you know, you just learn, and I knew that I knew how to build it backwards this time, like re-engineer it with the purpose, the mission, vision, values, the coaching, the leadership. And it, for different people, it resonates differently. Like a guy last night that committed, he's like, the leadership track for me and that program means everything. He's like, I've been around you long enough, and if I can be around you for 3 to 5 more years as a sponge, sign me up, you know, which is an honor. And that's what I tell everybody. I'm like, I'm honored to serve you and lead you. Yeah. You know? No,
I'm in the construction industry, and it's, I'd love to be able to do that for my employees, and I have not figured out a way to do that at the level that you're explaining it at. It's super attractive.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's sometimes when you get going and you're moving and you're going, it's like, it becomes something else to do. Yeah. And I'm leaning heavily with that up front, and there's models that exist already, like, and even Jimmy's customer experience, like egg drops, Easter baskets, firework parties, come to a movie event. That's so easy to do. Yeah. You just have to do it. So we're going to engage our customers a lot and turn them into raving fans. And then the model is simple. We have a weekly call, just like we do with Watt and Tribe, and we focus on a subject. And then I'll bring in, you're not going to hear me talk about it, I'll bring in experts on all of that stuff. And for a very, you know, they're younger adults. So where are you going to go get this stuff? Yeah. Elsewhere, you know? So it's just stealing like an artist. The best leaders are followers. I've been following, and success leaves clues. That's right there in front of me. Like that model, that business, Brandon's culture, Jimmy's coaching, in one. So that's what I'm doing, man. That's awesome. What we're doing.
I love it.
Thanks.
Well, we're way past the time you said.
Yeah, man, I gotta head out.
So, I normally ask people for their best 2 minutes of advice, man. You've been giving great advice all day, but give me your best 30 seconds. We'll get you out of here.
Never stop transcending. Never stop. Sometimes we look around and we see a family and we're like, whoa, that person, their son's a doctor, their daughter's a lawyer, their other son's a brain surgeon. Like, what? They must be, what are they putting in their cereal? It's kind of interesting because at some point in their family, there was someone that created such a high standard and never stopped transcending. They probably surpassed some type of standard or way of living that was their normal environment. So people are usually products of their environment. I like the Denver Broncos because my dad does. And he rooted for them when I was little. So one of my mentors, Sam Suval, told me that when I was applying for Harvard, I had to interview 5 people. And that was the question, what's the best piece of advice you can give me? He said, never stop transcending. And I'm repeating him, but he said every once in a while there's someone in the family line, and Ed Milet calls it the one, where they break through that typical mold, that typical product of the environment, and they get a undergrad and they go to grad school and they run a marathon and they go climb Everest, and they actually never ever stop. So what happens is your whole lineage, your generational lineage, your nieces, your nephews, your cousins, your kids, all of a sudden understand that they can do it too. Yeah. That you can, if so-and-so did it in my family, I can do it too. So the best piece of advice I can give to anybody is to never stop transcending. Don't get comfortable. Don't get complacent. And, be that person for your family that you leave a generational legacy. It's not your name on a building at a hospital. It's that, did you raise the bar up so high for your family that you can completely shift generations and help them. And when they're at that level, they're outwardly serving. It's not about them. Then it becomes about community and helping others and growing. So I think can be transformational. People just never stop transcending.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man. I love this podcast.
Yeah. I loved our time together. Thanks, man.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for listening to the President McCormack Podcast, brought to you by McCormack Foundation, Saxton Fund, ADP Lemco, and Professional Floor Systems. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and keep up with Mark on Instagram @President McCormack.